Hurricane warnings are in effect from Grand Isle, Louisiana to the Alabama-Florida border as Tropical Storm Nate gets better organized in the Western Caribbean Sea. I'm Mike Naso from the video update page on YouTube. You can see there is the center of Tropical Storm Nate moving very fast, 21 miles an hour off towards the north-northwest. The good news is the rain might move in and out very quickly for areas it's impacting. The bad news is you're going to have less time to prepare along the North Gulf Coast, to say nothing of the Yucatan Peninsula, which weather is already impinging on you guys right now. Alright, as of 11 a.m., here's the latest on Nate. It was at 18.7 north, 85.0 west. Winds were 50 miles an hour with higher gusts. It's moving north-northwest at 21 miles an hour. It's getting steered between two areas of high pressure, which is going to allow it to slide to the northwest and then up north and northeast very quickly. So this is not going to be like we saw earlier this season with Harvey, where it sits and rains and rains and rains. However, it is expected to be a hurricane by landfall, 996 millibars. You can see the forecast from the Hurricane Center. This time tomorrow, we're going to be dealing with it closing in on the Louisiana coast, and then by this time Sunday, way up over the Tennessee Valley area. So this is a very quick event. However, it is intensifying, and those hurricane warnings are obviously out for areas of Grand Isle, Louisiana, all the way on over to the border of the Florida Panhandle and Alabama. To say nothing of the other watches and warnings, we have the storm surge warning from Morgan City to the Alabama-Florida border, including areas of Lake Pontchartrain. As you know, this upper Gulf Coast is very susceptible to high storm surges, even with more sloppy, ragged hurricanes. And there's nothing to say Nate's going to remain sloppy. There's still an opportunity for intensification, perhaps even rapid, should it get an inner core better organized. Obviously, we have those watches and warnings along Cuba and the Yucatan. The system's going to take a trek very close to the channel and then right on up towards the North Gulf Coast. There is the visible satellite imagery. You can see the center of circulation is right in here, and it's moved very rapidly just in these few frames, giving a good indication of that fast motion. Again, bad weather for areas of Cozumel and Cancun. You guys are going to get in on the rainfall as it continues to move northwest, though I should note most of the strong winds are on the right side of the circulation. So you might be a little bit better off if you're in the Yucatan, whereas if this was a tightly coiled, well-organized hurricane, we'd be in a worse spot there. You can see, though, it is starting to look a little bit better organized, so this will likely become a hurricane as it moves into the Gulf of Mexico. The models have shifted slightly to the east, but overall, I gotta say they're in very good agreement, mainly because of how quick this is. I mean, you're talking 2 days, and this thing's already up. So right now, there doesn't seem to be a lot of divergence between very close to the Yucatan Peninsula and western Cuba and the Channel, and then right on up somewhere between the mid-Louisiana coast on off to the Florida Panhandle, this area where you got 4 states tightly clustered there. Somewhere in that area is where we will have the landfall of Nate. And remember, there's nothing to say this system won't still be a little lopsided when it comes in, so you could have bad weather off to the right-hand side, but that all depends on how this system organizes as it comes into land. You can see the water temperature is obviously very warm for it there in the Western Caribbean. It's trying to take heed of this very hot oceanic heat content, which has been untapped during this hurricane season. And then the wind shear right over the top of it, very favorable, although, to be honest, it could be a little bit more to the east underneath a better upper-level anticyclone. It is still dealing with a little bit of wind shear from the areas here to the southwest, a very strong shear. You can see this better on the shear tendencies, to be honest. The area that Nate is under is right on the precipice of this very, very favorable upper-level environment and this very unfavorable upper-level environment. However, it should carry enough of a good harbor into the Gulf of Mexico to be able to intensify into a hurricane. There's the water vapor imagery, and you can see this even better. You can see these clouds here kind of going up on the left-hand side of the system, and then very favorable outflow on the right-hand side of the system, indicating that it's right on the edge of good conditions over on the right side and bad conditions on the left side, it should find that little harbor in the middle and take that track towards the Louisiana and Mississippi and even Alabama Gulf coasts, which is why strengthening appears likely, and you can see the thunderstorm activity is increasing closer to the center, even though the strongest winds are farther away. Now, it's not only going to be a situation for the Gulf Coast as far as hurricane wind potential and storm surge, but we will also have heavy rain. You can see some of these estimates show upwards of 6-7 inches of rain in areas far away from the Gulf Coast. We're talking North Carolina, Tennessee, rainfall over the next 3 days spreading up. As it gets caught in the westerlies, it'll accelerate to the northeast, and we won't have to deal with it on the coast, but we will still have rainfall. So we're going to keep a close eye on Tropical Storm Nate. It is not a hurricane yet, but it is forecast to become a hurricane over the next, say, 24 to 36 hours, and then make landfall along the North Gulf Coast. Hurricane warnings up from Grand Isle to the Alabama-Florida border. I'm Mike Naso. I'll see you next time.